up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Oscar. Today, I'm joined by the usual Colin and Joey. How you guys doing?
It's ARG, Colin. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the joke's dead now.
we can but we still have to.
All right, we're here with Colin from Team ARG. Thank you, Colin, for being here.
Yeah.
And
still figuring out how to tweet.
Yeah. How many tweets do you do a week?
I've done. It probably averages. Let me think. I've been on Twitter for 3 weeks, so that averages to 0.33 tweets a week.
Okay. Well, anyways, before we get too far into this, I always forget the intro stuff. But if you guys are watching this, definitely check out Happy Little Hug Factory, a sponsor of a lot of things that we do on the channel. Link in description down below. You can check them out. They do have a buy list updated with Winds of the Ominous Moon, as well as singles on their website. A lot of you, I mention this every week just in case some people don't watch older podcasts, but a lot of the singles have been on TCG Player, and we're like, we don't see them on the website. They migrated all of them to the website, so you can go ahead and go pick some of those up. Just make sure you click that link in the description below so that they know that we sent you. And then additionally, thanks to a lot of our patrons for helping make this podcast possible, a lot of the equipment upgrades and such, and we're definitely going to get some more upgrades probably soon. And if you guys want to become patrons, you can visit patreon.com/TCGscrubs and check out some cool rewards. I just recently ordered some stuff that'll be going out hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff.
As soon as we get back from the GP.
As soon as we get back from GP. Speaking of the GP, we won't be here for a podcast next week unless we're going to do a delayed one. We'll see what the guys say.
Or if we're able to do a low-quality audio one, but if we're able to rally a special guest or something while we're out, maybe Oscar and I will throw something together. No promises, but
I mean, it might be hard to have two special guests on one podcast.
I think I can pull it off.
You, Oscar.
But if you guys are cool with like an on the road podcast while we're at the GP, I guess I can take our task cam with us and do it. It shouldn't be like too low quality. It's just like if we do it on the road or something, you'd hear some road. So,
I'm not thinking on the road. I'm thinking like, oh, let's go in the motel and look, we found Jim from. Oh, well, that's a road name. We found Billy Bob.
That's really interesting. But yeah,
John,
we can do
our inside access to Force Will.
And well, I still got to see if we're allowed to do this, but like we had mentioned, if you're at the GP and you see us, come up to us, and there's a 50-50 chance that we'll have. Like promos or maybe something else to give out to people who come out and say hi, whether or not we're allowed to. Still got to find out if we're actually allowed to do that or not.
Yeah, so we'll ask and double check. So don't be too disappointed if they say no and we have nothing for you.
Yeah.
Colin's in charge of that part, asking.
Yeah.
But we've had quite a bit of news that came out this week. We had the ARG results. We had what runes are doing, and what else was there? Something else I thought. That's still on mine.
Let me check my handy dandy note thing. Half my notes are not here, but I have other half here. I thought World States were announced with that weird video.
Oh yeah,
that was weird. It's like 10-second video.
That was really funny. That was cool.
It was pretty funny, yeah. It was funny. You guys should watch the video. Apologize for the dog. I'll close the door here in a sec. But here, you guys go over there. I'm gonna close the door.
So the video came out 3 nights ago from the recording of this, and it was pretty much the CEO of the company, EG, doing his, here's when Worlds is going to take place, which a lot of people had already known the dates, but this is just their official announcement of when this was taking place, and it was kind of a funny video. Joe, you were gonna say?
Yeah. No, I mean that's pretty much. What I was gonna say, I was gonna try and.
I thought you were gonna chime in on the funny part where like the colors come in glowing.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for people. Though. Yeah.
And he's trying to like put out the
flames of the green
energy of it. Yeah.
That's funny.
Which is funny. They've made a similar joke before though, and they're like, "Ha, that's funny." Anyways, here's more green. And so
they're fixing it.
I laugh at it, but also because they had made that Force of Green joke back in December. And that was before Sherry came out, and all the green cards associated with Sherry.
They couldn't stop that. So that sounds like
they
we
could have
should
shot
get.
Stuff.
That sounds like we should get started on some rants, eh, Colin? Feeling very ranty.
Anyways, So before the rants, we have been playtesting a lot, getting ready for the GP, and we got to actually take our decks into the wild and play them at locals. Colin, how did yours go? What did you play?
Well, I'm still. I think I've decided on the deck. I'm going to do more playtesting and definitively do it. But so this deck is probably not the one I'm going to take to the GP.
Okay.
That being said, it didn't do too bad. So the deck I brought was my Panda OTK deck, which is basically revolves around. You don't really run pandas. You just run the Panda Ruler in support for him, and Judgment, and you just swing for game essentially. Yeah. And it did pretty good. It didn't do good. Well. It's partially my fault. I went against Farrer and lost pretty good against that. I would say pretty good. Like it's an OTK deck, so I got close to doing my OTK, but because it looks like nothing really happened on my side. But I forgot. Game 1, I realized I didn't switch out my stones for the correct one, so I literally had dead stones in my deck essentially. And then after that game, I switched out the stones and I went to go get my side deck, and I have no idea where I put my side deck. So that was
great watching you squirm. I was like, man, you should be more organized. But I am. Like, well, obviously not if you can't find your side deck.
So it's hard to tell out of that. But then next game I went against a variation of an Aimu deck. That was pretty interesting, and I was able to win against that with the Panda OTK, and then I went against an altered, what is his name? Gil from the Lost Tomes deck, and won against that as well. So it feels nice getting the combo off, pumping, because you just pump Panda up, and the idea is you want to try and pump him up to the 20 mark, 2000 attack mark, and then you just swing in, recover, swing in, and then you win, essentially. So it feels good when you actually get that combo off. The other times, you maybe not always get the combo off, but I would swing in and do 2,500 damage or 3,000 damage. I guess 25 isn't possible. 2,600 damage or 3,000 damage, and then next turn I would get it.
Is the deck called Panda Bomb?
No.
No? Why not?
You get it.
It should be. I'm just saying, it's just a weak derivative deck, Colin, of Zero Bomb.
It would 100% beat Zero Bomb.
Oh, no, it would not.
Yeah, 100%.
You couldn't even get flying against Zero. And Zero would block you.
Flying is not important to the deck. It's literally, I swing in, you block, and I burn all my darkness gems to kill whatever's blocking me.
Or he uses the rival and just kills it.
Yeah, doesn't matter. My zero, you can't use a rival on Zero, and you can't.
Can I use darkness gems on Zero?
No, because she has barrier.
Where'd she get barrier from?
From literally every single card I ran that gave her barrier. I had to run that deck when fucking Black Moonbeam was popular. Okay, don't try to talk to me about it.
You get out of here.
My flying Borb gives me barrier.
You're just talking. First off, the 2-cost green. What is it called?
Yeah.
That's not barrier.
Yeah.
That's. What? No, it's not barrier.
Yeah,
does it say give your J Ruler barrier? No? Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, it does.
That's literally just an addition card for me to kill on my path to kill you, is all that is. Or 2 will that you just wasted.
I would just sacrifice Percival, and he would do the thing that he does that I'm pretty sure would block it. I don't actually remember what Percival does. I think Percival just provides damage, doesn't he?
Percival, yeah, it does something like that.
Which the darkness gems are -5, huh?
Yeah, they're just -5.
Well, then I just pump her with all my regalia I have.
They don't. First off, half those regalia only pump attack, not
defense.
defense.
What are you talking about? One of those regalia doesn't pump defense.
2 of them.
No, what's the second one?
I forget. I just know that there was exactly 2.
No, the only one that doesn't do the defense is Levitine. The rest do attack and defense.
Yeah, get out of here, Colin.
It doesn't matter.
And then
that's literally like what, 1 more gem and like bloop, and we're good.
No, I have like 7 regalia out. You'd have to sacrifice at least 3. You would have to sacrifice 4.
You'd have to sacrifice
4 dark
3,
gems.
Scratch that. 4.
You'd have to sacrifice 4 dark gems just to try and kill Zero.
He often would have 5 or 6.
And that's all I need.
Yeah.
And that's all I need. As soon as your ruler is dead, then resonators are super easy to kill.
You couldn't kill
need my gems.
You couldn't kill my. Okay, not only could you not kill my ruler would kill you first.
How?
I'm going to join the audience here who are probably like, ooh, I want to see this happen.
I want to see this happen too now. Ooh.
But how are y'all going to sort it out? Would Joey just run his deck and Colin just run his, or does Colin didn't have access to Wander at that point?
Right. See, the issue there is like
my deck. Well, if I have access to Regalia, then this is a whole new world for me.
Yeah. It would have been cool in theory just to see that happen.
It doesn't. Yeah.
I think Panda. Let's just say this: inside of Wanderer format, I think Panda is better at the bomb than Zero.
No, especially because Zero also gets resuscitating will.
I don't use resuscitating will anymore.
Isn't that the one that recovers your Panda?
Yeah, I got rid of it.
Oh, so how do you recover your Panda?
With his passive ability. That's why I say I just pump him to 2,000 and I only have to swing twice.
I liked when you said that, what you just said out loud or at locals, and then Jan's like, yeah, I wouldn't have taken that out. He turned to himself and said that.
No, he agreed. He was like, no, that's fine. I agree with that. I think
I heard him when you said it, and you turned to Sean to talk, and he turned and was like, yeah, I would never take that out.
Oh.
I remember just sitting here and laughing like, oh, that's great.
I'm just saying, like I don't know. Obviously, I had access to Levity, so it's not really a fair contest.
Yeah, I have to spend a whole will just to do what Levity did.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see happen, but like it'd be like a lot of like you follow the ban list and all that, because then that Levitine's gone and Horn's gone.
Yeah, but then I feel like neither of our decks would be very good.
My neighbors are being loved.
I mean, my deck's
I'm pretty sure
right
mine
now
would
with the
still
bans.
be better though. Huh?
My deck's fine right now with all those bans.
Yeah, mine'd still be better though.
Listen, y'all figure it out, and let's try to make a video out of that, and let's just see it on a random like Thursday weekend.
Yeah, we should get back to the actual podcast.
Yeah, let's get back to it. So locals was fun. I had a blast. I think I got first. Yeah, I got first place. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I ran Sherry.
Hey, Oscar, why don't you tell me what you ran?
Sherry. So we took our decks with our locals, understanding that Colin and I were practicing for the GP and getting ready to really, go out there and play. So they all came prepared for that. And, I was able to win.
Did you have to fight fair?
I never got to play Oscar. That's what I was sad.
So, real quick, he never got to play me that day, but he played me the night before. How many games? 5, 6 games in a row? And how many did you win, Colin?
0. I won 2 first
you
off.
You won 1.
Second off, I was figuring out the deck.
Uh-huh.
Third off, once I switched out the cards correctly for the next day, it ran like 20 times smoother. If you're watching this, Mike, 100% disagree with you. Escape Jeweler, I think, is essential for the deck after taking him out and then putting him back in.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I didn't run Fair Spell. 0 Fair Spell. Also, I'll point that out. Nice. I don't have any Fair Spell, it turns out, so I just ran 0 Fair Spell. And it went okay. It would have been nice to have, because Lorite hurts really bad, but all things considered.
Yeah, I didn't get to play against some of the decks you went against. I really wanted to. I was afraid of Sean, to be honest with you. His modified Alhamat deck, the historical thing. I was like, ooh, yeah. I remember last time I played him, there was a lot of like removal and just like minus effects. So. Yeah,
there was. Is a lot of the 0 flip to try and protect the stuff and all that, which hurts me a lot because I have to double do everything just to get rid of blockers and stuff like that. But it's pretty interesting. If he flips in God's Arts, then it's pretty much game for me because I can't let him do die.
I created my Sherry deck in a way where it's like, okay, the main concern is going to be like Keurig, right? So I was like, I'm going to run it with that in mind, even though I knew that when we were there, nobody was going to run Keurig. I was like, it's fine, because, in a real matchup, somebody who's not running Keurig, I need to be able to know how to play against them and then side out and side in. So it was funny going into the final game, I was playing a Welser, and I was like, all right, I got all this Keurig support in here, I'm going to pull it out after game 1, and then we'll go. And like game 1 goes, I'm like, actually, a lot of these cards are kind of useful against the Welser deck as well. Like the Powerless Dragonoid one is like, cool, I can cancel his fire chance he tried to do with the one with the 5 different awakenings and all sorts of stuff, like removing his graveyard. So there's a lot of fun stuff.
It's almost as if Sherry works against most decks. Weird.
That was cool.
I played Oscar a couple times, like a week ago now, and I played against Sherry, and like that was probably like like a couple of the first times that I've actually played against her, and I'm getting to where you are, Colin. Like I also played
he was pretty upset.
Fair. Yeah. Huh?
You were pretty upset when you played Sherry. I remember you being like, "Wait, you can't do that." And I went, "Yeah, no, I can reveal a story and not pay for it." And it just fizzles away. And you're like, "Well, it's broken."
Yeah. I was like, it's like, okay, by like turn 3 you can just flip and get and like summon a like do it like I don't know, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like you get to summon a story, and then like, dude, that 3 cost bring back a 2 cost and a 1 cost. Oh, that shit's broken. That shit's so broken.
Yeah, it's amazing. I unfortunately didn't get the value out of that 100% because first I want to say sorry about my neighbor. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but I know definitely the people listening can hear it because the audio on my side records better. My neighbor has a motorcycle, and I guess he doesn't take it out that often, so he's like pulling out the garage, taking it around the neighborhood a couple times, so it's like really loud. And then he might be putting it away right now. But anyways,
so funny.
What was I saying? I didn't get maximum use out of that card because, yeah, I don't probably run like the best stuff. Shit, oh my gosh. So I don't have the best of Sherry decks, and I do run Sylvia in mine, and so one of my main targets usually is trying to pull a Sylvia out of the graveyard back into play with that card. But no, yeah, I do like it. It's a great card.
Yeah, it's like my like after seeing it played and like after getting it played against me, it was like you just got like double value out of like the same cost, but you didn't like lose any like. You didn't lose any card advantage or anything off of it. It's like, oh, it's like this sucks. This sucks a lot. Like, yeah.
And it's quick cast too, which is great.
Yeah.
Not great, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, it was unfortunate. It was like after seeing like a lot of those cards like actually in play, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna like attack in with like this, this doll, and I'm gonna sack the doll and like kill something. And it's like. I started to be like, wow, that's some good stuff. Like,
yeah, I liked it because he was running a Rhea deck and was picking things out of my hand. And I'm like, well, here's my hand. He's like, ooh, let's take that out. I'm like, totally okay with that. Let's throw that Sylvia in that graveyard.
Oh yeah,
go ahead and put that Sacred Elf in that graveyard too.
Yeah,
I won't get those back later.
It was I was trying out like a mystery discard Rhea deck, and I think I have it to an okay like level right now, but I mean obviously I'm not going to any GPs with it, but yeah.
Yeah, you're not.
So we'll go ahead and move on from here, and my neighbor's annoying me, but anyways, so we had the news article. If you guys want to cover that about the runes.
Well, let's do this. Let's go over the ARG, and then after that we can talk about the runes and how the runes could possibly fix
Colin's like,
stuff.
I'm ready to get angry. Let's do this.
He's like, ooh, well, let's talk about
you go over,
Sherry,
I can't find
and like Joe's finally on my side.
I can't find I can't find the ARG stuff, so if you could do that, Oscar.
Yeah.
Since I'm preparing for all the Kirk stuff Joey was warning us about, so I'm getting prepared for that.
Okay, so to start with, it was a total attendance of 25. We had 8 Scheherazade, 3 Fairs, 3 Lumias, 2 Ayu, 2 Gil, 2 Kirik, 2 Time Spinning Witch, and then 1 of Aimo, Shayla, and 0.
Wow, interesting.
Going into the top 8, or you guys want to comment on that before we go to top 8?
I mean, I think before top 8, it sounds fairly diverse. Like, I mean, 8 Sherry is obviously like a lot, but like all the other rulers are very spread out. So
yeah,
I mean, that's nice.
It was kind of, I'm going to say it's amusing because it made me laugh. How people were like, what? 8 Sherry still? She must still be good, It's like,
that's
I mean, people are still going to run. I mean, even if say she was bad, you'd still see a handful of Sherrys, I feel. With people thinking she'd still be good.
Yeah, okay, my issue is with the next part.
No, I think people were thinking she might be bad, and so they were like, "This is my chance to shine," which is a good thing to do. You're like, "Oh, let me go."
I really wanted to see that Time Spinning Witch do something cool. But anyways, going to top 8, we have 6 Scheherazades and 2 Fair.
Yep. Do we know the order?
We don't. I don't. Not right now. I do
know that first place was Mike Rance with his Sherry deck. That's the only one I know for sure.
Mike Rance from what?
From ARG, Team ARG.
Nice. He's the first one of y'all's whole team to really put y'all's name up there. Huh?
Yeah, so I'm the only one on the team without a Worlds invite.
Are they gonna be like working with you now? Like, Colin, we need you to make us look good. We need this image. Like, what deck you plan on running? Let's see. Let's test it. We need to get you up there.
He's like, nah. No. Honestly, they're probably going to be like, listen, we've done all the testing for you. You need to play Sherry.
They just give you the deck. Here it is. Here's your deck list. Fill it out. You're good to go.
Listen.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm confident enough in myself that if I piloted Sherry, I'm pretty confident I could win with it. I don't know about first place, but I'm pretty confident I could get in top 8.
Ooh,
but I would not have fun doing it. If I really had to, I feel pretty good about it.
You should. I would love to see that, Colin. I'd love to see you actually like train and like get down the lines and all the lines for Sherry and like all of her abilities.
Here's the thing, Joy. Here's my thinking about it. Think of it just perspective. Take away my perspective. Perspective of like when you go and you look at a GP, you go look at the top 8 or something like that. Not even the top 8. Let's say top 16. What are you looking at? What gets you excited? All the Sherrys that you saw, or that one person who got 9th place running like Shayla or something like that? You're like, right. Who is that? I don't give a shit about the other top 8. Who's that? What team are they on? Who are they associated with? That's the person. It doesn't matter if they got first or not. I think at the end of the day, people care more about the creative side and this random stuff more than they do about winning.
I agree with you, but I think the issue is that you are on a team now and you represent actually like an organization.
It's a new team though.
Right.
That's my point. The entire team except for me has invites, so the team is covered as far as that. What we want is people to realize that there's more to the team than just like there could be random stuff.
Right. Okay.
You want to bring attention.
So what
I'm
you're
not saying that I'll do good, but
what
I'm
you're
just
saying is that you're the wild card.
I'm saying I'm the wild card that is so wild it could get in top 8 or it could be 56th. I don't know. We'll see. It's a wild card.
So I don't know.
People always think of wild cards as like, oh man, that's the guy that could do really good. But wild card by definition means they could be complete shit. That's what a wild card means. They always forget that second part.
So okay, I agree with you, Colin. Like that's what gets my rocks off. Like seeing White Fox and seeing like you guys remember how fucking excited I was to see that deck list and like look at that and be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Tell me this, Joey. What? I don't even remember what it was, if it was regional or something. But tell me what deck do you remember that ran at the random regionals in Pokemon? I don't remember. You know what I do remember is the deck that didn't get first place, which was Waylord. That's what I remember. You know. I'm
pretty sure I remember a Toad Code Garbodor deck.
No, that's more of an emotional scarring. That's not remembrance, Joey.
I remember.
Toad Garbodor was cancer.
It was Toadbat Swan.
I remember. Here's the thing, Colin. I remember all of the top tier decks, though. Like everybody remembers the top tier decks.
But you don't remember anything else about it. You just remember it. Like if I was more following the scene, like more people, I feel like in Force will follow the specifics of stuff than they did in Pokemon.
Colin,
but
I agree with you, and I'm on your side. Like I took Ampharos to our regionals and tried to like
okay, that's different, Joey. That's
cheese my fucking way. No, that was literally me trying to cheese my way into like doing good at that tournament, which I probably would have if it was like an actual like standard tournament.
If it wasn't for those meddling kids.
If it wasn't fucking expanded, I probably would have done okay. But anyway,
no. My favorite part was you had that Ampharos deck. And the big joke going around Verbank at a time, I guess, see the meme of the day, was everybody's like, man, that Ampharos Volcarona deck, #1 deck.
I do remember that.
And remember, you and I both like, whoa, is it real? Is that really good? And you're like, oh yeah, I did it. And it was like, oh no, they're joking, they're mocking it. It's not good.
Anyways, that's because they didn't realize that. Look, I'm just saying, like, I don't know. If it hadn't been the expanded format or whatever the hell it was, like I probably would have done pretty okay. In my
like, if we hadn't drawn down a Pokemon, I was pretty confident in where the direction my Rayquaza deck was going.
Also, if fucking
pretty consistent.
Real quick, I want to jump in.
If water, if water was fucking actually weak. All right, sorry, go Oscar.
Colin's Rayquaza deck ended up doing really good after he quit playing.
I told everyone that it was good. Everyone went towards colorless Rayquaza, and I said Dragon Rayquaza is the correct Rayquaza.
There was an event, and then those two.
Really?
And I ran the basics of Reshiram and Zephyr, whatever the other one is called. I don't know if anyone ran those, but
yeah,
I've ran this sort of hybrid deck that worked on itself, but also by the way it was structured, avoided a lot of things that were like anti-EX and stuff by its design and stuff. It was great.
Okay. It was short-lived, but it did make it to one of the top-tier tournaments.
So also water should be weak to electric. I'm just saying, like, not everything should be like, oh look, I'm so weak to grass. Like, no, you guys should have dual. That's another reason why I hate Pokemon, but whatever. Just saying, my Ampharos got in like 3 times or something and didn't knock him out because the game's stupid.
But I was gonna connect this over to Force.
Right? No, wait. I'm still making my whole connection point.
Okay.
So like then in Force of Will, like I brought Zero Bomb into, you know, our tournament or whatever, and like so like I'm all about that like rogue deck badass shit because like you're right, like I don't want to play meta decks, I don't want to like net deck and stuff either. But while I'm saying that, so like I'm totally on your side, Colin. I just think that you should probably play Sherry since you're on a team and everything. So yeah, that's my point. That's my overall point.
One,
like I'm so in favor.
1, 2. I straight up don't own Sherry or any cards that go with her.
You probably own the cards that go with her.
No, I got rid of most of them. I'm pretty sure I traded to you, or just
I burned them. I burned all of them.
I'm like, it's kind of like how I was with Prussia. I didn't keep Prussia or anything associated with her because like it's not like I was like blah blah blah, but like I was like I'm never gonna play this deck. You know, I know what decks I like and like to play, so I have no reason to keep cards. I'll trade those cards for the decks that I am going to play. So this is the same thing with Sherry. So I don't have any dolls that are not common. I don't have any. I don't have Ferris Spell, as we've established, because I was going to make a point of never playing Ferris Spell, but you know, and I don't have Sherry. I probably have some of her stories. I know I have some of her stories, but not the big ones.
You should probably make sure
it's
like,
spotty what I have.
You should probably make sure you order what cards you do need. Like you don't want to be going into this.
I'm figuring it out.
I mean,
I'm just saying, like
at this point, we're too late for him to even order and get them in time.
You think?
I
mean, you guys still.
I'm figuring some stuff out. Yeah.
We're leaving Friday morning, so it would have to get here by Thursday.
Yeah,
I feel like we ordered now. I'm just saying, like if you're playing like Imul, for example, like you should probably want. I don't know if that your deck runs like Ferris Spell, but you should probably.
Well, yeah, no, I'm looking into getting Ferris Spell. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Just saying, like you know, you should make sure that you have like at least everything for the deck that you want to run.
I know how to build a deck, Joey. I know I have to have cards for the deck to work.
I'm pretty sure you came into our ARG missing like 2 cards that you had to bum off of Oscar.
Yep.
It was a few. That wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
And I think I was missing some. He had to go trade somebody real quick to get the last 2 or something.
Anyways, did Joey tie it back yet? I missed it.
Yeah, he let it
my tieback. Huh? Yeah, my tieback was just like you should.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Because you're representing a team and because you know, same idea. Like I'm behind you in spirit, but because I like you know I'm the same way, Colin. Like I would love to bring. I would bring like I don't know something stupid. Like I bring.
So you think my Imu deck that you called Cancer is not good enough?
No. Like. If you bring your Imul deck, you'll probably do pretty good. I just don't want you to bring like one-shot pandas and then get like.
First off,
30.
I'm feeling with a couple more switch-ups. I'm feeling actually pretty confident in how that panda will run. The only downside is the only thing to figure out is game 1, Because game 1, if they flip and it's fair, there's a good chance I'll lose. But game 2, I can side out, do final battle, different things like that, and then I'm fine.
The thing is, I feel like final battle doesn't stop fair.
Yeah, that's by definition it stops fair.
Why?
What? Because it wipes the field and the ruler?
It doesn't wipe fair, though. It literally almost cannot wipe fair.
Why not?
Because, okay, listen. Fair, it can buff himself up to 2100 defense, which means you need a final battle for and like.
Hold on.
If you don't pay for it.
Now Joey does. Wait. He can give himself an extra 1200 defense. Yeah. So he's.
So he's 2100 total defense.
22, but that's not the point. The point is. No, I just played him the danger. Point is. That's one, assuming he hasn't used a single counter. Most fair people would use counter at some point somewhere. Mm-hmm. Especially against my panda deck to give them barrier or buff them or something like that. Secondly, I just account for that and use the appropriate amount of will and life and just hope they don't swing in next turn or something like that. I play random swiftness elf.
After playing versus Oscar's Fair, and having final battle cast against myself as well.
I'll play against Oscar's Fair, and we'll see how it goes.
First of all,
anyways,
not my fair.
That's fair. That's fair.
It was
that's fair.
It's just, it's really my fair. It was I launched Red Green Fair. I put it on the map. Just saying, put it on the map. Okay, no, listen. My thing is I played fair into final battle. I've tried to using final battle against fair. The math just doesn't. In my opinion, it just doesn't add up.
I disagree,
I don't think it counters it.
120% disagree. But no. So the larger point is this ARG.
Mm-hmm.
So
20 minutes later.
Yeah, no. Joey got very offended by my panda deck there for some reason. So. Some things to keep in mind is this ARG is the first event since the ban, and it's also 25 people, so it's not a huge sample size. It's a smaller sample size and first one since the ban. Mm-hmm. That being said, we didn't have what I thought might happen, which is people still default into Sherry. So by default, percentage-wise, the top 8 will be a lot of Sherries, and that's just as we do growing pains. What we saw instead, there's 8 Sherries at the event. Only 2 of those did not make it into top 8. I'm not sure what their placing was after that. Their placing could have been 9th and 10th, where they just barely missed it. I don't know.
Yeah, fair beat them.
As far as percentages and all that, that's a crazy high percentage of stuff that makes it into top 8 out of what was. And so the fact that 6 of those 8 made it to top 8 tells me not only that it tells me that Sherry was able to beat most of the decks it came in across. And as you read off, there's quite a big variety of decks at that ARG, and it was able to go through all of them. And since Sherry was in first place, it at minimum beat some of the fairs. There was at least 1 or 2 Sherrys that beat out some of the fairs. So unless fairs were 2nd and 3rd place respectively, more than 1 Sherry beat out the fairs, which it was a question of whether fair could outpace Sherry now. So what we're seeing, maybe it'll change at the GP, because maybe this was a fluke with the 2 caveats I mentioned before. But my fear, I mentioned when...
Yeah, it's always important to look at ARGs and look at the relative skill level too. I don't know where this ARG took place. I don't know how many people went to it, or
we just said 25.
It. Right, but okay, there's a difference between 25. Let's say there's 25 people, right? And let's see 15 of those guys are locals who are of average skill level, right? And then let's say 5 people flew out, and those 5 people all played Sherry, and they actually flew out to win that ARG. Those 5 people could just be way better at the game and be playing Sherry, and a combination of that. I'm just saying, there could be an issue of skill level. I don't know, but I feel
it is still.
It
is kind of funny post bans. We had these bans of 4 green cards, and post those bans, we got our first top 8 in a decent amount of time. That's pure green as well.
That's all green.
Because we've had a mix of Keurig and Imo and stuff.
All right, I'm you do have to count for skill, but I agree with you, Colin, that 6 out of 8 Sherrys and 2 out of 3 Farers, like, all made top 8. Like, that's pretty insane and pretty telling as to what's too strong in the game.
Yeah, so the hope is that this doesn't carry over to the GP. If this happens even like remotely like this at the GP, I think that's the final indication that Force Will made a huge mistake not banning Sherry just outright and leaving everything else unbanned.
I already think that they made a mistake, but we'll see.
Rune Story is, I was thinking about it, I think Rune Story is for the most part perfectly fine without Sherry. It's not a big deal. True Blades is super strong. However, it's kind of necessary right now in order to counter certain things, so it's fine until whenever. And the other 2 cards that they banned just straight up don't matter if Sherry's banned. So, like, it was a 1-card ban that's very rare to pull versus 4-card bans that you pull all the time. And so if this 1 card you didn't ban is still a huge, big problem, this looks really bad. These 4 dead cards look really...
I don't think it looks as bad as maybe you think, but I do think that it's pretty damning. Like they tried to rein her in, and I think that's good that they started with that. It's just I don't know.
But they won't e-ban, so that's why I say this is going to be bad for the company because they refuse to e-ban. That's why I was saying if these bans don't work, this is bad. If they e-banned and like unban the other cards and just ban Sherry, like did a switch out, right after Consuelo GP, if something like this happens, whatever, they tried the other stuff, but we know that's not what's going to happen. It's going to be at minimum 3 months of this, which sucks. If this ends up being the permanent case.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I think it would be very interesting to see like what banning Sherry would have done coming into this GP instead of just banning like all her support. Mm-hmm. Like after facing like other green stuff, like after facing Fair again, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's also like pretty insanely good. So
yeah, Fair is still pretty ridiculous. I'd forgotten.
Like Fair didn't nothing. Okay, so my other question is that I had noticed that they were green black Fairs. Is that the same style of deck that they're doing, with like the pitching the Fair Resonator into the graveyard and then bringing it back out with the tapping your elves? Like, is that the same?
I think so. I didn't look at any of the
style
decks,
they're doing,
so I'm not sure how they were ran.
Yeah, and I didn't see any deck lists. I don't know if you guys knew.
Not for Fair, yeah. I only saw the Sherry deck list, or a couple of Sherry deck lists.
It's interesting that like everything was green black, and I think Sherry had white. I don't know. Somebody said there was white in there.
There was. Okay. They had miscalculations on Mike's deck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, miscalculations is pretty bonkers too. So like one cost.
Miscalculation. Yeah. It's pseudo necessary, but I don't know. It's necessary in a format. Like if Sherry wasn't a thing, because Sherry just adds it to her tools. If Sherry wasn't a thing, I think with how strong certain cards might be getting, especially aggro and stuff like that, I think miscalculation is might be very necessary. But without that, all it does is just give Sherry a way to deal with aggro.
Yeah, I think a 2-cost, like, why did we take away, did we take away Scarlet's Agony?
No, matter of fact, I laughed because I played it on you. You said, oh, you can't do that because it's 0. Oh, my bad, I'm undoing it. Okay, yeah. You get all mad at me. It's like, hold on, I'll let you undo some stuff. We're just playing fun. Yeah. And then later on in the game, I played it again. I'm telling the story, Joey. Don't try to move it on. And then you're like, oh, okay, wait, isn't that card banned? I'm like, why are you just discovering it's banned now? You didn't discover it was banned earlier, and no, it's not banned.
No. The second time you tried to play it, and I was like, my guy's got barrier. I think that was it. I don't know.
No, that was the first time.
Okay, that was the first time.
The second time I went through, and that's when you're like, I think that card's banned. You're not supposed to play it. I was like, no.
Okay. That card, yeah. I think anything that like bricks you from attacking that's like just 1 mana is probably, I don't know. Like, I feel like miscalculation. I mean, it's obviously like, not an issue, but
also Scarlet's Agony is pretty dumb. Like, it's like
Well, Scarlet's Agony is broken because it's slotted into Sherry's slots. So like
outside
it's
of that
basically
too,
free,
well,
and then she draws a card.
That's like way worse, but like the fact that it stops J rulers as well as resonators.
Yeah.
And and it's like one cost you stop a J ruler or a resonator from attacking, and you're like, wow, that's really freaking strong. Okay, you do you. Also, you draw a card. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why the second part? Where'd that come from? It was perfectly fine on its own. Like, and they released that new card that's like it, but not. I guess it's more versatile, but it's not quite as good because it's either moves something from battle or you draw a card. It's one or the other, which granted gives you versatility where you could draw a card, but it's not that good. And it makes me think of like, are they purposely making cards for the story deck stronger than normal cards? Because if that's almost feeling like the case now, where like, it should have been reversed, where anything inside for story deck should have been super nerfed when any normal card would have even remotely looked like, but instead it looks like they're purposely making them stronger than what normal cards would have looked like. Like a 3 cost that puts a 2 cost and 1 cost into the field. Anywhere else, that would have been a 4 cost, because you usually have an extra floating will that you're using that's part of the cost technically to grab that stuff from the graveyard. That's usually the case, especially when it's a story, it's passively quick cast.
I kind of disagree with that. Like, I feel like none of those cards are super amazing. Like, except
I'm saying they're stronger than their non-story counterparts. That's all I'm making the argument.
I don't know.
There's non-story counterparts that
like you were.
How do you disagree?
My thing is like you were saying Rune Story was like fine, right?
Outside of Sherry, I think it's
right, exactly.
It's not that bad.
I feel like all of these would be fine, except
that's
when
not my argument. First off, I disagree. I disagree with that. I know. I said every card in there has a counterpart that's not a story chain.
Okay.
But that counterpart is weaker than the story version of it. So it felt like they were making. Whenever they made a version of card for a story deck, they made it stronger than the normal counterpart.
I see.
Which is that's the point I'm getting at. When they should have been taking the opposite approach, and then some, taking another step backward from that opposite approach, and then Sherry would have been still playable and might even still have been competitive, but she would have been balanced. But yeah, so yeah. Any last thoughts on that, ARG?
No, I thought it was interesting. It was kind of sad to see it just straight up green. I would have liked to see something random make it in.
Yeah. Even one thing, yeah.
Well, pumped
would
to see
you
what
say
happened.
that would have drawn your attention? Nothing going.
I pumped to see what happens at the GP. What the ruler turnout would be, and what ends up getting top 8. And if we don't get top 8 or earn an invite, hey Jeff, if you're listening, you should bring us along so we can record stuff and really promote the game.
Oscar,
we have so much camera stuff.
We at least know one person's bringing Sherry, so that's good.
Yeah.
If you play against Oscar, don't. Oscar, I'm sorry, but they'll all know what you're playing. It's
fine. I mean, it would be great if I show up. They're like, oh, I know you were in Sherry, right? I watch you on YouTube. I'm like, oh yeah, I know, right? Flip Panda over. I'm like, you ready?
You're like, we did a lot of testing.
Yeah, that was all fake. We knew weeks ago what we were running.
Oh my goodness, that'd be the best thing ever.
Yeah. So lastly, we had the article on runes. Colin.
Oh yeah,
bring that up.
Yeah, so this is why I want to do that first and segue into this, because the runes, like these year, I'm not happy about what's happening with green and Sherry and fair and all that stuff. But we got some updates on how runes work, and it did I got pretty excited about them, and the way they laid it out shows how it can be used to possibly prevent this stuff from happening in the future, which is really cool. If you guys have ever played Star Wars Destiny, and I think there's other card games have done similar stuff, what's going to happen now is those rulers we get at the front, it'll be like ruler. They said they're going to dumb down the rulers a whole bunch so that they're more vanilla. Not vanilla, but, they're not going to be Prussia. And they'll have, somewhere on them, it'll say Divinity, parentheses, let's say 10. And so you're like, okay, that has Divinity 10. Now you'll have all these rulers can run an extra deck similar to Scheherazade. You can have a maximum of 5 cards, no minimum, but a maximum of 5 cards. And each card that can go inside of that side deck has something in the corner of it that says Divinity 3. So that your ruler that has Divinity of 10 can have up to 10 cost of Divinity. So you could run 3 cost Divinity cards and 1 cost. So you have a deck of 4 for your extra deck.
You can run more Divinity than you have on your card, but you just can't attach the Divinity to your card.
Right.
You can't attach more cards.
What?
So yeah, you just can't have more than the ruler has printed on it.
You can have
inside of your deck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's inside the deck.
From my understanding was that you could not straight up build the deck with more than it allocated, because otherwise you're
let me read where I saw that. It says, as long as you do not exceed your divinity limit, you can use as many runes from your rune area as you'd like. The upper limit on cards in the rune area is 5. Do note that the total divinity cost of runes does not restrict deck building, although I do recommend you build with costs in mind. So the limit is 5 in your rune area, but you can. But I don't think that divinity has to 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So it says right here, if your ruler has 10 divinity to work with, then you can only play runes until divinity cost reaches 10. So your deck can have more.
Okay, that's weird. But so you can do that, and then as we have talked about before, the rune, and so keeping that in mind, and the rune, when you flip them over, they'll have a cost to them still. So it'll be like Sherry, you still got to pay the 3 to activate it or what have you. And then the runes there'll be some that'll be specific to say, hey, this only works with Panda. Obviously, it won't be Panda, or this only works with yellow rulers. Or this one is generic and works with any rulers. This one will have a subset type. That means it can be put into your main deck as well, because otherwise it can only go inside of your extra deck unless it says otherwise, and everything's like that. So and so it's sort of, you can sort of start seeing how this can balance it, because as we had talked about before, they said they'll introduce stuff to, like, say this ruler is really strong, they just won't release support for it or very minimal support, and they'll support these other ones to bring them up to the power level. And so you can see how they could do that. They can introduce a card that's really strong, for example, with a really low divinity cost that can only be used with this specific ruler, or this specific color ruler if black just isn't doing good in general. Then they add that. And so there's because of that divinity cost combined with the cost of the card, combined with the card's association, you can start to see how this could play out in the long run of on the fly balancing.
Yeah. Do we know for sure if certain cards will only work with certain rulers? I mean, I imagine they have to, right?
Yeah, they already said that. No, I was going to say, and the cool thing about this, and that I was thinking about, and I was talking about at our locals today, is now you can take... so the first set of Force of Will for the new cluster usually is sort of the rulers come out and you're like, cool. Not much support for them or anything like that. So anyways, let's go back to the old rulers until these get support or something like that. This actually solves that problem, because you release these, and because these extra cards right now cannot be used with the old rulers, you could technically create situations where these are stronger than the old rulers in a lot of different ways depending on how they work. I forget that I thought of this very specific scenario of easily why these could be way stronger than our current rulers without like being like an overpowered amount, just like the way you can build it, and the build up over time over the cluster, and then when the next cluster starts, you do the same thing. When those new rulers get introduced, you can release a whole bunch of divinities that are specific only to those rulers, so they don't power the old rulers, so it brings them up to a very close power level to the old ones, and so you never have any sort of downtime of weird interludes where just a couple rulers are dominating for an extended period of time or what have you, because you're constantly adjusting, and when the new set cluster comes out, then you already have an initial power burst when they come out, and that got me kind of excited that going forward that could potentially be something cool with it.
I'm definitely a fan of it so far.
I can't wait to see how it goes. See our first starter deck revealed soon.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah, so he says.
Do you guys think like the rulers themselves are gonna have to be interesting? Like the divinity cards, I feel like are gonna have to be also very interesting. Like look cool and stuff. Like I feel like they are, if they do this right. Like runes really could be like a chase card and stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, it'd be super cool. So they've done two things in Caster Chronicles that I've loved. One was the Soulbond Servants, which was probably one of the prettiest cards I've ever seen, where it's white with these white borders and this cool art, and it's textured. The whole thing is textured and all that stuff, and it's this cool thing, and that goes into an extra deck you have. Those were super cool looking. And then they did something similar now with the new set coming out called Deities, and Deities are an extra deck. Same thing, except it's more of like this. It depends on the color of the thing. So the soul is like this orangish golden type of thing for art, textured, and it's got pretty artwork and all that. Really cool, and it subverts the normal visual style of the cards usually. And so that'd be cool if they did something like that. Just these beautiful, like, just they don't have the normal forcible borders or anything like that. There's just these really pretty cards that just have the information you need on them, and that's it. And they're just like collector's items, and like Joey said, you can go even more unique with the chase card versions and stuff.
I'm really hoping the divinity sign, like I'm really hoping these are just really shitty mock-ups, and like their actual design stuff is gonna look way better.
I'd imagine they're just placements.
These are literally just normal cards that they did really bad for.
Right, but like the Divinity 10 obviously looks bad. Like the other Divinity, like I'm just hoping like this like Divinity 3 symbol isn't going to be the actual symbol, because I don't like it. Looks okay, it's just it could
no, yeah, that's not going to be the font for sure. It's
what if it was, Joey, they show the new rulers and the rulers are just vanillas with Divinity 10 or Divinity 8 on them, and that's all you get.
As long as they look cool, and like they had like full art versions that looked like literally was just like, instead of like a text box, they just didn't have any text or something, and just said like Divinity 10 at the top or something, or like at the bottom. Like I think that'd be kind of cool.
No, it'd be super cool. I can't remember what. I feel like this was in a card game, did something similar, but you could have your Divinity. Say your ruler has Divinity 10. I have some really high Divinity cards I really like. There could be a Divinity card that costs, you flip it over and it costs 3, and it's like a Divinity 2, but it's a high like normal will cost, and it just adds like 6 Divinity to your ruler. So now you can play the rest of your Divinities throughout the game, but it's like a ramp up for Divinity itself. That would be super cool. I know there was a card game that did something like that.
So it's also all 10 rulers are all gonna have a Divinity of 10. Like
no, they did not say that. They said gave Divinity 10 as an example.
Well,
so some rulers might have 8, some might have 37. We don't know.
Well, it's okay. It said, well, all 10 of the starter deck rulers this set have an ability labeled Divinity 10. So maybe they just meant like an ability. Huh? It says, so you might be maybe wondering. You're right. It could be Divinity, and then the other thing could be like 8 or something. I feel like if they didn't make everything 10, then they're gonna have a lot of issues later on with like oh, this guy has Divinity 2, but he has extra abilities to like make up for it. But okay, those extra abilities could be way too strong, and you can never like get other cards to get.
I was thinking
it
more
balance.
So like say black right now. Black is like, oh, it's got a lot of just all of its Divinity stuff is a lot of removal and like hard counter stuff, because they're sticking with the color wheel. So black just passively has a stronger game during a certain part. I'm just in general speaking. So like, all right, we're just gonna, on the offset, it's a Divinity of 8 or Divinity of 9, just so you can't play all 5 of these specific cards. So it's like an early, just like preparing early on for cards that naturally might be 10 towards stronger areas. So light will have 10, green would have 10, because if they stick to the color wheel going forward, that it shouldn't be too big a problem. But black maybe is 9, blue maybe 9, because same thing with countering and stuff like that. So like, I could see them, but yeah, now that I reread that, it could mean that they all just start out with 10, but they're giving themselves the option to in future clusters switch that around.
What if they do have abilities and they judgment into really strong abilities too, like say Sherry, and their judgment sides use up some of their divinity? It's like this J Ruler's in play, so it's using up 5 of your divinity.
Yeah.
I was thinking the opposite, like an incentive to judgment, and when you judgment, you gain extra divinity,
right,
to use later. But because it costs you will to judgment, you can't use that divinity off the bat. So you got to be really careful and protect your J Ruler and stuff like that.
There's a lot of design space they've given themselves. So I feel like there's a lot of like design error that can arise from this. Like, let's say this guy's a divinity 10, but there's this one OP combo with the divinity 4, 3, and 3 cost, right? And like that equals 10 or whatever. And like they what if they can't get those, that card has to become the base value of what's OP, right? So like you have to buff up every other card to get to that level of strength. And then that's really dangerous to me. Like, if they print something that's like really busted, in order to raise their other rulers up to that same spot, like all those other rulers now need to be busted. And like,
well, no. Here's where I kind of disagree. Like, say they print something like, so they busted. Let's say they, I don't know, printed like a green cancel that becomes 0 cost if your opponent plays 2 cards or more. So say that card somehow existed. I don't know how that would get printed, but you could, instead of printing a bunch of broken stuff to try and get around that, all you have to do is introduce a rune that can be used in every color, or every color except for green or something like that, that says anytime your opponent goes to cancel, they have to pay 1 void more. Something like that. You've now given yourself an extra rune that works against a multitude of stuff, isn't broken because it's still 1 void color. It's basically a wall win, and it still costs to put out there. You're still using up divinity, but it essentially stops in its tracks what could spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Right, maybe
that might not be the best example, but like that's an example of like a way to hotfix something without keep on elevating everything up. You can bring something down by giving other things tools that don't necessarily make them stronger.
I kind of agree, but like, what if, like, okay, let's say they have a Shahrazad ruler and she has a divinity of 10. They make 3 cards, one's divinity 4, one's divinity 3, and one's divinity 3. Like, I don't know, obviously she's not going to start with this, but let's say like the divinity 4 gives her 5 extra cards that she can play anytime by paying 0 cost, right? The divinity 3 gives her like dolls or quick cast, and then the other divinity 3 is like whatever her other, like another OP ability that she gets. Like, what if all those divinities lead up to a Sherry powered ruler to where like there is no hot fixing that you can kind of work around? She just counters everything that you try and like throw at her that's hot fixing.
Here's why that example is perfect, Joey. Because Sherry currently does, she does all that. And so in order to stop that, in my opinion, they need to ban Sherry. In this new system, they don't need to ban Sherry. They just need to ban one of those runes. Right. And all of a sudden that ruler goes kunch down. She's not off the face of the earth, but they've created a way to balance out rulers by just banning individual runes if they need to, or creating new runes, without ever having to ban the ruler themselves, and by extension all the support that went with that ruler. They've created their own like closed system where if bans do have to happen, they're not that big a deal. And
I do kind of agree with that, but I also think that like they hate bans. So
they should spend more time testing.
So like if they do want to ban this one rune, like that could be like a $30 chase set. Like that could be a $30 rune card, and like, yes, it's not as bad as I did quotes there because Colin and Oscar can't see my screen. It's not as bad as banning a ruler, but it's essentially the same thing because you're banning a $30 card that people were going for the chase set, and like that's what they wanted. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a lot. You're only losing that one card versus banning the ruler. You lose that card, and indirectly you lose 15 cards that are just might as well have been banned because of how useless or cheap they are. The rune card, you don't have that unless it would be a terrible idea if they ever did this. Guys, don't do this. But if they printed a rune card and then printed support that worked with that rune card, That's where you start running into problems. But as right now,
I think they're probably going to do that. I think that's like a good design. Like I said, they left themselves a lot of design room to play around with a lot of different stuff, but there's also a lot of error that can arise from all this. So I'm cautiously optimistic because there's a lot of super cool stuff that they could do off of this, and this could be really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Oscar.
Right, Oscar.
I agree.
Yeah. So I realized, trying to get Oscar into this too.
He's busy.
He's getting ready for his outro.
No, we do need to finish up though, so we are at the pretty much right at the hour mark. But maybe we'll continue this conversation on the Patreon podcast, guys. So head on over if you're not a patron already.
Yeah.
But thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.